A love contract is a document that you may sign at your organization by individuals that might be involved in a relationship together. So, if you've ever had two coworkers who might be dating, uh, would be a good idea if your company had a love contract. And the essence of why these exist is, of course, it can be quite risky to have two individuals working together, especially when companies are required to follow such strict harassment and retaliation laws. And so it really just helps, I think, set expectations, make sure that team members understand the policy, what's expected of them, if they're going to date while working for the same company, and also helps limit some of the risk for the employer at the same time.
Yeah. And we'd mentioned in a previous episode just how many employees fall in love with one another. And so this practice of having a love contract is something that I mean, I hadn't heard of it before we chatted about doing this on the show, but I think it's a really good idea. I mean, I can think of times where, I was younger and maybe dated someone that worked at the same place in college, or in HR, you just happen upon it all the time where people are wanting to date because you spend so much time at work. So
Mhm.
I think it's a good idea to do a love contract. What sort of steps or what sort of parameters do you think someone should put in a love contract?
And so typically, companies would have a policy that says if you are involved with another member of the same company, that first you're required to notify HR, and that would prompt next steps about presenting these individuals with a love contract. And like I mentioned, it's the details that are in the contract can vary from company to company. But again, it's primarily ensuring that these individuals, one, are not in any sort of reporting relationship, that they understand the expectations, that they are to remain, professional at all times. And there are some other notification requirements, such as if their relationship ends, then they are to notify HR as well. And it's not because HR wants to be nosy, but again, the company does have a certain obligation to ensure that there is no favoritism, there is no harassment in the event of a breakup, that there's no retaliation. So it is important to know, and having this contract sets that expectation with the individuals. And I don't know, Joey. I mean, I've worked at a lot of companies where I've had coworkers who were dating and it seemed to work well because maybe they were in different departments and they were totally professional and you would have never known
Yeah.
unless they actually told you.
Yep.
But then I've also seen the opposite. But I'm curious to know if you've ever seen situations where coworkers were dating and maybe it got a little bit messy,
Yes.
and how something like this may have actually helped if it existed.
Yes, 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 yes. So I worked at one place, and I won't mention it by name, obviously, but two people got together and were dating, and I mean they kept it pretty under wraps for a while, but ultimately they went, like, you could tell they were together. They would show up in each other's social media and with little love notes attached to it. But the unfortunate thing happened where they just no longer were together. They broke up, and the young lady actually left the organization. Now, I wouldn't say that their breakup caused her to leave, but you could
Mhm.
imagine that the discomfort of being around somebody every day that you no longer share that bond with, um, it got
Mhm.
uncomfortable. And so I think with a love contract, what could have been avoided is maybe, some sort of interventions before she left the employer.
Mhm.
There could have also been some things around, hey, here are some things to consider if you are going to date. And so they would jump into that relationship probably a little bit more sober minded, and not like drunk in love, to use the Beyonce term. But in all seriousness though, I think guidelines are always helpful, contracts are always helpful because then you take the emotion out of something and it's really about what are the terms. So I think we could have kept a really great person on the team if she didn't leave. There was another time where some folks broke up and there was some damage to property, but that's another story for another time.